Hey everybody, I wanted to do a Beatle Finds update. I've got some pretty cool stuff, so here we go. First things first, I picked this up yesterday. This is a EP called Beatles For Sale #2. I'll get a closer look there. And this is in mono. Unfortunately, it's got a little bit of writing on the top there, but I got this for a really good price. And from what I understand, this comes from the EP box set that was in the blue box, released in, I guess, like the late 70s, early 80s. I could be wrong about the date. But it's on the Parlophone label, of course. And you get I'll Follow the Sun with Babies in Black on one side. And then you get Words of Love and I Don't Want to Spoil the Party on the other side. So I thought it was cool to pick up this EP. And I don't really have any of the Beatles EPs other than the Long Tall Sally EP that was released on Record Store Day a couple of years back. So yeah, I was happy to pick this one up. They had another one there as well. They had like the Beatles, called Beatles Hits or something, and had like the early songs, Love Me Do, Please Please Me. A couple of those tunes on there. But I chose to get this one instead because I thought it looked cool. So that's Beatles For Sale #2. Then I picked this up, and I was really happy to pick it up. This is Revolver, and this is a 1988 pressing from Parlophone, and it's got the barcode on the back, as you can see. And this is a direct metal master. So it's mastered from the digital files, like the same ones that were used for the 1988 CDs that were released, the first time Revolver was on CD. They used that master and pressed it to vinyl. And now this sounds excellent. I'm really happy with the way this sounds. I know a lot of people, criticize those 1988 mixes and for whatever reasons, but I really think this sounds great. It's not my #1 Revolver pressing. I think that still goes to, I think, my Revolver that I got out of the blue box that was in like the early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. But this one sounds fantastic, and I'll show you the label. It's on like a darker Parlophone label than usual. But you can see there, a lot of glare, there you go. Kind of a darker black with a light gray there. And yeah, I was happy to get this for a pretty good price. I forget where I picked this up. It might have been at Record Outlet, where I usually pick up my albums, but I can't quite remember, but I think it was Record Outlet. Anyway, that's Revolver Stereo from 1988. Then, okay, this is a real weird one. Picked this up the same time I picked up Revolver. This is a Hard Day's Night soundtrack from Capitol Records. This is on the Capitol Purple label, which would date it like late 70s, maybe early 80s. I think it's early 80s, actually, is more like it. And it is mastered by the guy who I really like, who does a lot of the Purple label, this guy Wally. The thing about this, and I'll show you the label here, Capitol Purple label. The thing about this one is that the Beatle tracks are taken from the mono masters. The only thing is this is considered a stereo album. So like the George Martin soundtrack stuff is in true stereo. The Beatles stuff is in mono, but instead of doing that fake stereo thing, where they do like the fake electronic stereo where they put the lows over here and the highs over here, they keep it mono, but they do this really crazy thing where, for example, like on A Hard Day's Night, where John's singing, everything's right in the middle, right? The mono signal, it's right in the middle. And when Paul sings, everything gets moved just a little bit over here to my left here. And the whole image moves. So it's really, really weird, and it sounds really bad. So this is a pressing that I do not recommend unless you want this as like a kind of a curiosity to have and just to hear it, because it is really crazy to hear. Another really weird example is like on Tell Me Why. You have John singing the lead, but when the backing vocals come in, they pan really quickly to the backing vocals and then back to John, like this. So the whole time you're listening, it's like the image moves. In fact, I thought my stereo system was completely just like about to lose it. I thought my stereo was wrong. I didn't know it was the pressing. Then I read about it online, and I read that, yeah, this is notoriously a very bad pressing. So, unfortunately, that's too bad to know that this is not a really good pressing, but at least I got it now, and at least I know. And I only paid $6 for this, so I'm not out too much money. Anyway, it's A Hard Day's Night on Capitol Records Purple Label. Okay, now on to some Paul McCartney finds. This is Ram, and this is a 1976 pressing of Ram on Capitol Records instead of the Apple pressing. Now, I think I showed you in one of my last videos, I got the McCartney, his first solo album, on this label. And I recently found out from one of you, I think it's Tom's Vinyl Shack, he told me that this black Capitol label was made specially for Paul McCartney for his releases. So I now have McCartney and then now Ram, and these pressings are excellent. This sounds really, really great. It's not better than my Japanese Ram pressing. That one is still hands down the best, but this is definitely second best. It's way better than just like the standard Apple release that was released in 1971. It's definitely better than that, and I even think this might be better than the Paul McCartney Archive collection that just came out, where well, it didn't just come out, but it came out a couple years ago. This sounds really, really great. So if you can find these pressings, pick them up because they're really cool. And they're usually go for a pretty good price. I think I got this one for under $20. I think it was maybe 15 or something. Or actually, no. I think it was 12. And I got this at a record store I don't normally buy a lot of used records at. It's like the big record store that we have out here. And I tend to go there like on like a release day if there's something I want that's just brand new that's come out. They always carry all the brand new stuff. But as far as their used section, they have an okay used section, but it's generally pretty high prices. But this one wasn't. So I was happy to get this. As you can see too, it's kind of got a different look to it. It's more of like a muted cover. It's not as like vibrant, the color. It's more of like a gray kind of tint to it. So anyway, that's Paul McCartney's Ram, a 1976 pressing of it. And then I picked this up, and I had a lot of debate about this. I finally picked up this Paul McCartney box set. This is Pure McCartney, which was released last year in 2016. And I didn't pick it up when it first came out because it was, in my opinion, it was listed they had it selling for way too much money. I saw some of it had it listed for like $80, $75, in that range. And that's just not what I'm going to pay for something like this. Obviously, I would spend that amount of money for like a Beatles box set, like the Sgt. Pepper box set. I had no problem paying over $100 for that because that's something I really, really wanted. This is just a collection of songs I already had, and I didn't hear all that great of reviews about it. But I was at one of my local record stores, not Record Outlet, another one I go to here in Ventura, and they had this on sale for $30. So I figured I couldn't pass that up, and so I picked it up. And I must say, I listened to it this morning before work. I listened to the first 2 records on here. The sound quality is amazing. It's dead quiet. The vinyl is dead quiet, and just the work they did on this is really good. It's crystal clear. The best version I've ever heard of Silly Love Songs is on here. The bass just like bounces along, and it sounds so great. So I was really pleasantly surprised with this, and really happy I picked it up. I did have a little bit of that buyer's remorse when I was driving home, like, why did I spend $30 on this when, because I did see another record there that I wanted to get. It was Neil Young's Hitchhiker album, but it was kind of pricey. It was like $22, $23, or something like that. So I could have got that instead of this, but I decided to go with this. I'm really glad I did because it is really great. And here's the back of the box. And it's a really nice, sturdy box. One thing I will say, if I have a complaint, the booklet is really nothing. And I'll show that to you right now. It has some cool photos, but it's all photos that we've seen, or I've seen at least a million times. There's, I think, maybe one photo in here that I've never really seen before. And my other complaint is that it has like no text at all. It's got this little blurb from Paul where he describes how him and his team just wanted to make like a mix for the weekend or something, and I don't know. Basically, Paul trying to avoid saying that he made a greatest hits compilation or like an anthology. But anyway, it's got a bunch of photos, Linda photos, all the same photos we're used to seeing. And like I said, I don't think there's any photo in here that I hadn't seen before. Yeah, in fact, I've seen every single one of those photos. Anyway, that's the booklet, and it's a little bit kind of like wah-wah for me. But I do think the actual records themselves are pretty cool. I like how they're packaged. I've never seen that photo before. You can tell it's from the Ram sessions. So this is record 1, and like I said, the sound quality of this is really, really great. So I won't show you I won't show you every single record in here because they are a little bit hard to get out. They just barely fit in there. And getting the booklet in here, I'm not even going to try to do it right now because it's just going to waste time. So that's the Pure McCartney box set, which I'm really happy I picked up for this price. I would not have picked it up for anything over $50. I'd love to know if some of you have it, what you think of it, because I haven't really heard that many people talk about it. And last but not least, I picked up this book, and I got this used. And it did come with a slipcover, but I took it off because it was really in bad shape. This is all the songs. This is the story behind every Beatles release. And it's a really big, thick book here. And I know when this came out, it retailed for like $50. I picked it up for $10 at a used bookstore. So that's a great deal for me. And this one, unlike the Paul McCartney booklet, has a lot of photos I've never really seen before. And I just like the way it's laid out. It's got some cool, like you get this photo is a great example. It's the Beatles For Sale sessions. Like I've never seen that photo before, I don't think. I've seen photos from that day. But it's, like the title says, it's every single Beatles song, and it breaks it down into like 3 different little blurbs. You get like the genesis of the song, like what it's about, where it was written, that kind of thing, the production, and then there's like a technical, well, not on every song, but on most songs, there's a thing, what is it, it's called like, of course, now I'm looking through it and it's not here anymore. When I was looking earlier, there was a whole thing about like technical details on each song. Not each song, obviously, but a lot of the songs. Yeah, and it's just got a lot of, like I just opened this random page for Only Northern Song. And I've never seen that photo of George Harrison and George Martin. So I'm happy to pick this book up. I know that they also make, in this series, a book about Bob Dylan songs. And I was doing a live chat last night, and someone was saying that there's a David Bowie version as well. So happy to pick this one up. So that's it for now. And talk to you soon. Have a happy Halloween. Dodgers are playing their first World Series game tonight, so I gotta wrap this up. And I'll talk to you all later. Here's Paul. Look at those doe eyes.